Welcome back to the Maelstrom, ladies and gentlemen. We have another Warhammer 40k battle report for you today. 2,000 points, Tyranids versus Black Templars. We're going to be playing from 2018 chapter approved Visions of Victory with hammer and anvil deployment. The Black Templar will be on this end of the table with the Tyranids coming at them from the right side. We have our 6 objectives placed and we are going to be competing for those. You draw 4 objectives each turn. However, when you generate your objectives, your opponent gets to decide between 2 which one you actually keep. So we have our objectives set up. We have our hammer and anvil deployment determined already. We will be right back with the armies.
Okay, so the Black Templar will be organized into a battalion. The first HQ in the Warlord will be the High Marshal Helbricht. Second HQ is an Emperor's Champion, and the third HQ is a Primaris Chaplain who will be wearing the Crusader's helm for this mission. In the troop slot, I have 3 squads of Crusaders. 2 of them are 9-man strong with a plasma gun and a power sword, and they are wielding chainswords and bolt pistols. And the third one is a 10-man squad with a heavy bolter, a plasma gun, and a power sword, and they are armed with bolters. Then in the elite slot, I have a squad of 3 aggressors with flamestorm gauntlets, and a squad of 10 reavers with grab shoots. And rounding out the last elite slot, I have a Primaris Apothecary. In the fast attack slot, I have a squad of 3 Inceptors with assault bolters. Then for my heavy support, I have a 10-man Devastator squad with 4 missile launchers and an Armorium Cherub. In the transport for the motor pool, I have a trio of Rhinos and a Repulsor with all of its anti-infantry firepower stacked on.
Today, High Fleet Sodoth is going to be playing with Kraken as their adaptation. We have a Spearhead and a Battalion. Starting things off with the Spearhead, we have a Hive Tyrant. He is our Warlord. He has Adaptive Camouflage, 2 sets of Death Spitters, and the Instinctive Killer Warlord trait. For his heavy supports, we have 2 Carnifexes with Enhanced Senses, Spore Cysts, and Death Spitters, and we have a Trigon Prime. Moving over into the Battalion, we have a Broodlord and a Neurothrope. We have 3 squads of elites. We have 1 squad of 3 Venomthropes and 2 squads of 4 Zoanthropes. We then have 2 squads of 10 Gene Stealers starting off our troops section. We have 2 squads of 22 Hormagaunts, and we have 1 squad of 30 Devil Gaunts. So that is the Tyranid contribution to warfare today. We will be right back as we get stuck into the Maelstrom. Alright, deployment is complete. The Tyranids deployed first and will be going first. The Black Templar have decided not to seize the initiative. We have all of the small bugs deployed across the front with the Gene Stealers on this flank, the Hormagaunts in the middle. We have the Carnifexes on the right flank, and then the Zoanthropes and the Neurothropes blocked up on this end. The Broodlord and the Neurothrope are in the midst here, and then we have the Devil Gaunts and the Trigon tunneling, and the Hive Tyrant swooping down on the battlefield. Turn it over to Josh now and let him walk you down the Black Templar.
So the Repulsor here on my far right contains the Primaris Chaplain, the Apothecary, and the 3 aggressors. Then the 3 Rhinos are all loaded up. Helbricht is in the middle with the Emperor's Champion on the far side, and the Bolter squad is here underneath the gantry-way. I set up my intercessors to step forward onto an objective just in case we draw it early. And the Devastators have the back objective and high ground with enough firepower, hopefully to drop some of those big bugs before they get there. I'm also holding my 10 Reavers and my 3 Inceptors in Deep Strike Reserve.
Alright, so that is deployment. The Tyranids will have the first turn. As the swarm advances, we will be back. Alright, turn 1 for the Tyranids rolls to an end. This turn for our objectives, we had Crush behind enemy lines, Defend Objective 1, and Defend Objective 2. So we did go ahead and fan back to get to Objective 1 here. We made an advance with the other Hormagaunts towards Objective 2 behind the crates. And then everything else made its move forward. The Gene Stealers here took an opportunistic advance and then attempted a charge in against Helbricht's Rhino, but were unable to make it. They did lose 1 man on Overwatch. Helbricht's Rhino was shot down to 4 points. 1 of the 2 Carnifexes that was advancing took Onslaught and then from the Broodlord, and then Mutagenic Slime, and was able to knock 6 points out of Helbricht's Ride. Then through combined smite and shooting from the other Carnifex, we brought the 5 intercessors down on the tower to score first strike there. So that is going to be it for Tyranids turn 1. Black Templar response coming up next.
Alright, so we are up to the assault phase for the Black Templar. Shooting was a mixed bag. We had some things that went okay and some things that just did not pan out. The Devastators started the shooting phase off by taking a flak missile and knocking 2 wounds out of one of the venom throats, and then firing crack missiles and killing 2 others. Paired with some of the firepower off of the repulsor, we managed to knock the squad down to 1 guy with 1 wound, but out of bullets. Nothing else I could shoot at him that had range. So 1 guy with 1 wound still there. The rest of the firepower, about 60% of it, was fired into the Gene Stealers here, along with the aggressors, and we still left 2 survivors. Just did not come through the way we needed it to. The aggressors then spectacularly failed on their charge, so no combat there. However, the repulsor declared a charge and did manage to make it, so at least we have them hung up so that we can punch them with something. The Gene Stealers that advanced over the middle caught the full firepower of the Marines standing in front of them, and the Bolters managed to weed the squad out. The Carnifex that advanced all the way up and took the slime stratagem and wounded one of my rhinos, caught a couple of plasma rounds and is down 1 wound. We also killed a handful of Hormagaunts out of the far edge with some stray bolter fire and failed a charge with that Crusader squad. You can see how this turn went. The Emperor's Champion failed to make a charge, but the Crusader squad that he got out with did manage to lock the front Carnifex.
Alright, so we're going to work that combat, and then we will be back for objectives this turn. The Black Templars were looking at Secure Objective 1. Where was that one hiding? All the way in the back, down here. They also had Defend Objective 5, which is here by the Hormagaunts. They had Hold the Line, which can't be scored yet this turn, and they had Kingslayer, and the Tyrant's not here yet. So they did score 1 point for first strike. We're going to work these combats, and then we will be back.
Alright, so the assault phase winds down. The Marines managed to punch 1 wound out of the Carnifex and took 3 hits in return, but managed to make all 3 of their armor saves.
Yep, so that is it for the turn. The Tyranids scored first strike, Defend Objective 1, and Crush. So they're going to score 4 points for turn 1. And the Black Templars were able to score first strike. So 4-1 in favor of the Tyranids going into turn 2. We will be back after the swarm continues its advance. Tyranids turn 2 is ready for the assault phase. This turn, for objectives, the Tyranids are looking at Devour, Defend Objective 6, Behind Enemy Lines, and Secure Objective 6. So we went ahead and moved these Hormagaunts forward, where they are only working on Objective 6, did an advance to get them into combat, and cast Onslaught on them. They're going to be charging in to help their Carnifex buddy out here. The Zoanthropes moved to the flank and used Smite to clear out the aggressors and do a significant number of wounds to the repulsor, left it at 11. Hive Tyrant dropped in the backfield, fired his weapons into the Crusader squad here in the center and killed off 4 of them. The Devourer Gaunts tunneled in with the Trigon Prime in the back. They were able to kill off this entire squad and then fired up here, and despite 2+ cover, killed the entire Devastator squad as well with their second volley. We did also knock 1 wound out of this Rhino, and then we launched charges with the Carnifex and the Broodlord against the surviving squad in the middle, and the 2 Gene Stealers that survived on the flank are making a charge against the Apothecary, who is sitting at 3 wounds after catching 1 stray smite at the end. So we're going to work these combats, and then we will return. Combat is complete. The Tyranids were able to bring the Emperor's Champion down to 2 wounds. He killed 3 Gaunts in return for the trouble. Here, all but 2 of this tactical squad were killed by the Broodlord and the Carnifex, and the last 2 did fail morale because of the damage they had taken for the turn. Over here, 4 Gaunts were killed, and the Carnifex took an additional wound in exchange for 3 of the Crusaders. And the Apothecary lost a wound fighting against the Gene Stealers, but was unable to do any damage in return. So that's going to do it for Tyranids for turn 2. Black Templar response coming up next.
Alright, so Templar are up to the assault phase for turn 2. Not a whole lot going on here. We brought in our reserves down on Objective 1 and close to Objective 6 because we are holding a couple of tactical objective cards that do play into those 2 objectives. We used the Reavers to put the last wound out of the Venom Thrope, and then we sent the Intercessors and the entire complement of firepower into the Zoanthropes, and still did not kill a Zoanthrope.
2 wounds with all of that.
60 dice, and we don't knock 1 3-wound model down. Anyway, then a couple of pistol shots here and there, a whole lot of nothing resolved out of that. The Chaplain and Helbricht are charging the Broodlord, and the Repulsor is going to charge that squad of Zoanthropes.
Alright, we'll be back after we resolve combat.
Alright, so the assault phase wraps up. The Apothecary killed the 2 Gene Stealers that he was in combat with before they got to swing at him. He hit 3 times, wounded twice, they failed both of their saves. The combined weight of Helbricht and the Primaris Chaplain cut down the Broodlord, but the Carnifex in return punched 2 wounds back out of the Primaris Chaplain that we consolidated into. The Hormagaunts swinging at the Emperor's Champion dealt him 7 wounds, and he passed all of his armor saves and then cut 4 of their number down. The Reavers and the Crusader squad that charged into the Hormagaunts here, the Power Sword wielding Sword Brother punched another wound out of the Carnifex, leaving him with 5, and then the Reavers and the Crusaders combined to knock down 3, 7, 8, 9 of the Hormagaunts in the combat. So not so bad as far as that goes. The Repulsor did nothing, but the Zoanthropes also did nothing in return. So,
Alright, so that is it for turn 2. The Black Templars are going to pick up Secure 1 for their deep strike back here onto the objective. The Tyranids are going to defend 6 since we have troops here over his elites. So that's going to be 8-2 in favor of the Tyranids. As 2 winds up, we will be back as Tyranids go into turn 3. Tyranids have wrapped up turn 3 up to the assault phase. For this turn, we're looking at defend objective 3, secure objective 3, secure objective 1, and master the warp. So objective 3 is here in the tower, and objective 1 is back here with the intercessors. We started the turn by falling back out of combat everywhere. The Carnifex went over here to charge into the Reavers and keep them engaged, and these guys are going back into the Marines here. On this side, the Carnifex is charging in against Helbricht. The Hive Tyrant also flew up to add in there, and the Zoanthropes peeled back to work with the objectives. In the corner, these guys folded back. They went ahead and fired into this Rhino, leaving it at 1 hull point. And then the Trigon Prime is charging into this Rhino to try to kill it off. The Chaplain went down to Psychic Powers. Smite was able to bring him down and give a wound back to one of the Zoanthropes. The Zoanthropes then combined Smite and Psychic Scream to leave the Repulsor at 1 hull point. So we've got combats going in all across the board. We're going to work those. Also, Helbricht was left at 2 wounds from the Hive Tyrant shooting. So we're putting the Carnifex and the Hive Tyrant into him to see if we can finish him off. We will be back after the assault phase. Turn the assault phase rolls to an end. The Hormagaunts in the center were able to cut down 2 Crusaders and lost Paragaunts in return. Down here, the Carnifex was able to kill 1 of the Reavers between his crushing bulk and his normal attacks. And they did him a couple of wounds back, but were unable to hurt him. Helbricht was knocked down to 1 wound, but survived and did 1 wound to the Carnifex in return. And the Trigon Prime failed spectacularly, as he is wont to do. Got 1 hit through that turned into a wound and did 4 points to the Rhino. Emperor's Champion lost another wound and killed 2 Gaunts in return. At that point, the Black Templars are going to call it. The Tyranids are going to score another pair of points, which is going to make it 10-2 at that point, and they're just running out of mobility to do anything at this point. So we'll have after action reviews and army lists as always. See links below to our Facebook page, and make sure you hit the like button and give us a subscription if you liked what you saw today. As always, guys, thanks for spending time with us today at the Maelstrom.